It's always a pleasure to share with you the success stories of people that I have worked with. And it's so good to go back and revisit those people's journeys from when they first started to where they are now. And it's lovely for me to go back and visit these people who took the decision, who really took the decision and went all in. And one such person is June Evans, whom I've had the pleasure of mentoring and guiding through the Thinking into Results mentorship. And I'm so happy that June has decided to share her journey today. So it's wonderful to have you here, June. Welcome.
Thank you, Aalpa.
Tell us a little bit about you in terms of where are you based?
My name is June Evans, and I am from California, the Bay Area, born and raised. And I currently live in Central California, Bakersfield specifically, and I've been here for 10 years now. Yeah.
And I want to take the opportunity to actually thank you. Thank you for being such a fantastic mentee of mine. You've gone through this whole mentorship, thinking into results, and that's what we're going to talk about and share your journey from when you first started. And from what I recall, you started in April of this year. So
Right.
you've gone through, it's been just over 6 months. How has thinking into results helped you? Like, where were you
Hmm.
6, 7, 8 months ago before you started?
Well, it's been quite a interesting journey for me, and not to go too far back, but in 2000, end of 2018, I lost my mother, who was battling a very aggressive form of cancer, and I was her caregiver.
Yeah.
So after she passed, I was working, but I got laid off, and I got laid off, I believe, end of 2019. I really wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do, but I was not very thrilled about the idea of having to find another job. So I was in a position where I could afford to look more carefully for a job and not be so desperate for a job.
Mhm.
Um, and I was doing my very best to remain very spiritual and hopeful, but it wasn't always easy. I live in a town that is a little hard to get really good paying jobs. And I've had that before when I lived in the Bay Area. Um, it just was difficult for me. So, again, I tried to remain hopeful, but it wasn't very easy.
Yeah. Okay. So that's where you were back in April of this year. And unfortunately, you're looking after a very ill mother, and you were the carer. So obviously there was a lot of stuff that you had to give up for you as well. Um,
True.
but how how has then that transition for you in the last 6, 7, 8 months of you going through this mentorship? So what's really changed in your life now from where you were back then? What things have you gone through and found out about yourself through going through this process?
What happened, I believe, is after that, I found a new sort of desire to be more entrepreneurial. So I started with two direct sales companies and really enjoyed the freedom of having my own businesses within these two companies.
Hmm.
Once I was introduced to TIR, thinking into results, it really sort of added more momentum to these positions and why the freedom to have my own made sense.
Hmm.
It really it really gave me like more power and understanding that true success is really from within and sort of creating your own freedom. You know, there are certain words that we are very familiar with, but sometimes we don't embrace.
Mhm.
Freedom was a word I really began to embrace. And as I started learning and studying more with TIR, there were other words that really stood out for me that I began to embrace, like being a spiritual person, being persistent, things that you hold on to, like, wow, well, maybe this isn't working because I'm not persistent.
Mm.
Maybe I'm looking at something um, not the best way because it's not coming from my spiritual self, and I am a spiritual being. Let me go into this process thinking of myself as a spiritual being, something a little bit much more than just June, or something a little bit more than just a woman, or even, a human being. But a spiritual being puts you on a higher consciousness. And
Yeah.
that's what TIR did for me. It really truly made me more aware of certain things that I thought were average, and they're not. And
No.
I'm not average.
Yeah.
Um,
No, you're far from average. We're all far from average, but we
we're
never really
all
give ourselves that. Um, we never put ourselves on that pedestal, do we?
no, no, we don't. We
Uh,
really don't.
so, what did you discover about yourself during the time of going through thinking into results? You've explained a little bit about you tapped into more of your spiritual side. You started to understand who you really
Hmm.
are, and
Hmm.
you brought more of that into your
Hmm.
life. What else did you discover about yourself?
Well, what I discovered is I wasn't sure who I was after my mother died. I really did lose myself. And what the work did that I didn't expect for it to do is made me look inward and made me ask some hard questions and sometimes get some hard results. Like my professional life, I realized was never a big priority for me because I was okay with the status quo. I was really okay with just having a job, making just a small amount of money, and then maybe doing some good with the money, but never really thinking I could make, let's just say, $1 million a year. I never put myself up there. I said, well, let me just get a job making 40 or 50 a year and being okay with that.
Yeah,
TIR made it possible. Well, you could make that in a month. You really do have the talent and the wherewithal to do much more than that if you want to. And
mhm,
that's the thing. It teaches you to look inward and see that, you know what, I have goals. And then you break down those goals and then you decide for yourself what's most important in my life, you
yeah,
know, and whatever that is, because it's going to be different for everybody. And having financial freedom for me is very, very important. Being able to do whatever I want to with money is very, very important. I don't necessarily have to have the biggest house and the most expensive car. But for example, as you well know, I like to travel well. And
mhm,
I don't want to limit myself from that. So that's something that I want to do. Now I need to decide, okay, how am I going to make that happen? And that's what TIR does. It helps you decide how you're going to do certain things by putting in your consciousness what you want.
yeah. I love that. I love what you've just said there. It is about you. It is about the spiritual
Hmm.
side of you as well.
Hmm.
It does get you to tap into your higher mental faculties, which a lot of people, most people, don't even know about.
Right.
So how has it actually helped you with your goals? Because when you started in April,
Mm.
um, you set yourself a goal, but then as you're going through the process and you got halfway through, you realize that, hold on a minute, you've been playing a bit small. So
Mhm.
you set yourself another goal, um, and obviously you're still working towards that. But what
Yeah.
has that made you realize about you, and how has it helped you with those goals and actually goal setting?
Goal setting is a challenge because you really have to be 100% honest with yourself with what you want. And goal setting is, you have to remember or realize it's flexible too.
Hmm.
When I thought, when I had my big goal, and you have to also realize there are certain goals that are like hierarchy, your huge goal, and then your mid goal, and maybe a low goal. Um, a goal could be, tomorrow morning I'm going to get up at 7 a.m. I'm going to take a walk around the park or whatever. A big goal is, I want to make $1 million next year, and all kinds of things in between. Goal setting is studying and preparing and being open so that your big goals and even your other goals are more focused. So for me, starting out, I thought I wanted to do a particular event surrounded by music. Well, I love music, but I don't necessarily want it to do, I realized, the event because it was going to take too much time away from the actual music. There were all these other elements involved, getting event space, food, people, maybe even parking and things like that. Well, that wasn't part of the big dream. But initially, I came to the big goal is something that was kind of already in my backyard. I have a Facebook page and I would love to do something with it. So that's where I am now. And one of my smaller goals was to get another job or be employed. And I don't even like to call it a job anymore. I like to call it a position and purpose. And I wanted something that I could go to every day, make money with purpose and um, intention. So I found a great job or position that allows me to do something for other people. And that makes me feel great because I really feel it was divinely led to me.
Yeah. And even just that goal, and you said it so rightly that it's not necessarily about having the money or the the fancy cars or the fancy houses. It's all about what it is that you want, and that's what thinking
Mhm.
into results helps you to realize and uncover is what is it that you want? What do you really, really want? Be open and honest with yourself, and that's so important as well. um, and with this small goal of yours, this is a position that you've found that you've wanted to do. This is going to open up doors for the bigger goal that you've set yourself. um, but you were out of work for a good 2 years, is that right?
Correct, correct. And I wasn't necessarily looking for a job. I had some notifications come from different places I wanted to work. I was doing my direct sales businesses, which I was really, really successful with.
Hmm.
But but then they began to wane off a little bit. So money wasn't really an issue or problem, but finding something that would be a good fit. And I thought um, it would be best for me to have some employment so I could have some regular income so I could help support my goals too.
Hmm.
And looking at it from that perspective, I know led me where I am now because I'll be in a position where I'm helping people really make really big decisions for their livelihood. And I love the idea of being trained and using my own skills from previous positions that I've had and really making a difference with the team that's all about supporting other people.
Yeah. So you've got this job now. Woohoo! Well done. And
Yeah,
you cracked that goal within 6, 7 months of you going through
yeah,
this process. Whereas
yeah,
2 years ago, it was taking you that long because the right job wasn't coming through to you. But as soon as
correct.
you tapped into what it is that you want and you
Yeah,
started to tap into more of who you are and
that's
get
right.
into the spiritual essence of you, it all started to fall into place, right?
Yeah. I
Um,
agree.
and that's the beauty of this whole process and this system. Um, why do you think then, June, you weren't really achieving these goals on your own? Like, why do you think that this never had come to you before?
Especially at this time in my life, because I decided to not have a goal and not really be focused and not really have someone or something to help guide me to what I really wanted to do. I was all over the place in my thinking. I really didn't think I would be able to get a job here in Bakersfield that would either pay well and or be something I really wanted to do. I just didn't think it was possible. And a lot of that had to do with past experiences and also kind of where I was because I really wasn't putting my professional life ahead or priority because of what wasn't or what didn't happen in the past for me. And also having the experience with being an entrepreneur really outweighed me wanting to get a job. I really like the idea of being my own boss, setting my own hours, doing things I wanted to do. The two companies I work with were great, but again, they began to wane off a little bit, and the pandemic didn't help. You know, all this was taking place during the pandemic, so that didn't
Mm,
help either. So for me, I just kind of didn't know who I was anymore. And that sounds so cliche, but it was so true. You know, here the most important person in my life was gone. I don't think I was dealing with her loss very well. I'm a very take care of business type of person. So I did everything, you know, I needed to do before she passed, after she passed, and what have you. And then it was sort of like, well, now what? You
mm,
know? So being able to first experience the entrepreneurial spirit, be successful at it, and then deciding for myself, okay, this is starting to wane a little bit, so let's see if you can get a job. Let's see if we can manifest that to happening, that you want to get up in the morning and go to and feel good about. Something where you can kind of, you know, just expect a certain amount every month or whatever. And in the meantime, still stay entrepreneurial, still do something besides that, because sometimes it's going to take more than one position or
mhm.
resource to get to your financial goal. So even though I might be making X amount of money for this position, my entrepreneurial success might have me making more.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to be flexible. You have to be very flexible when it comes to how will the money come to me. It may not come from just one resource. It'll probably come from it, or it might come from different or a number of different resources.
Yeah, and that's what multiple streams of income is about, isn't it?
Exactly.
You have to have multiple streams of income. You can't just rely on one source of income,
Hmm.
which is what 97% of the population does. You know, you've got to have different streams coming in, so you've got to think in a different way, and that's what thinking into results helps you to do. Think completely differently. Think like there is no box,
Hmm.
and really tap into those powers that we've all been given, but
Yeah.
a lot of people just don't know how to tap into it. They don't even know what it is,
Yeah.
right? And we're stuck on the how all the time. Well, how am I going to do that? I want to do
Yeah.
this, but how? And we always say that the how is not up to us. You just got to make a decision that you want something. The only
That's right.
prerequisite is that you got to want it, and you got to really, really want it. And if you want it, the how starts to show.
Hmm.
Um, so through this process, because you're also part of my 6 a.m. study club as well,
Hmm.
and how have you found that? How have you found, I was going to say waking up at 6 a.m., but it's not 6 a.m. for you. It's actually 10 p.m. in the
Hmm.
US where you are, and it's
Yeah.
6 a.m. for UK. But how has that study club been for you?
It makes me accountable, and I like that very much. It gives me a routine. It's a very healthy habit. It allows me to make sure that I'm tapping in a more kind of, we're informal, but more habitual,
Hmm.
so that I can always rely on getting some studying in for sure, by being accountable and doing this 5 nights a week, nights for me, and also making sure that the next morning I sort of review what we discuss. And also doing something in the morning as far as affirmations, and maybe writing down goals or writing down affirmations with I am statements, things like that. And what happens is the more you study, the more signs and messages come to you. You start hearing people say certain things, whether it's on the television, whether it's a podcast or a conversation where people will be talking about things that you've discussed,
Hmm.
and talking about paradigms and other different um, philo- philosophical thoughts that, oh my goodness, we were just discussing that. And I think that's the way the universe kind of tells you or taps you on the shoulder, like, you're right on board. You're right where you need to be.
Yeah, because you've got yourself on a frequency, haven't you? And that's
That's
what
it.
it all is.
That's it.
We're all on
Hmm.
frequencies. We operate on frequencies. So
Yeah,
once you've kind of got yourself onto a frequency, then things that are on that frequency start to come to you. Same
yeah,
with your goal. Once you've got yourself on the frequency of your goal, everything that's there that you need, the people, the resources, the time, whatever it is that you need starts to come to you. Um,
exactly.
so with that in mind, then what's your favorite lesson of the program? Because in the 6 a.m. we study a specific lesson that you're on, and then we come back and we share what we've learned from that lesson, and there's some real deep insights that people have. What's your favorite lesson in the whole process?
That's a good question. And without looking into the book, I would have to say probably my favorite is lesson one, because it opens the whole idea and concept about what you want and your goals. Then a probably close second, I believe, is lesson three when it comes about the paradigm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, lesson three is all about your infinite mind and understanding
Hmm.
how your mind really works, because that's another thing a lot of people don't know, how the mind actually works and how you
Right.
can use the mind to start to create the results that you want. Would you recommend it?
I would. Yeah, without hesitation. It's a program that is life giving, life changing. It will work with your personal and professional life. And I think it just really helps you, discover a deeper sense of who you are. And it allows you to, we're a society now that talks a lot more about anxiety and mental health and things like that. And for some reason, a lot of us are missing tools to really get out of that mindset. This helps you realize what's most important in life. And we're missing this as a society. This is something I think anyone can benefit from. And you might see certain people who are successful and doing things or whatever, but eventually, these people may or may not be very happy or content, because as much as this helps you to live abundantly, there's a component where you give back also. And if you don't give back, then you're missing it, period. And I love that Bob Proctor talks about that, because I was even thinking to myself, now that I have a certain amount that I can, for the most part, expect, I can now give back and be consistent giving back.
Hmm.
You know, I've had some health challenges and I used to volunteer and I was a little bit more mobile then. And for a while I wasn't mobile. That was another reason that I wasn't in a rush to go back to a traditional job, because of health issues. But um, now there's no excuse.
No.
And the willingness and feeling good about it. Like, wow, I can do this now. And I'm not going to suffer financially. I can do this lovingly without any hesitation, without financial burden. And it's just a matter of where. It'll probably go to my church, but but
Yeah.
that's the great thing. And we all have circles of friends and family and things like that. And just this morning, I saw someone on Facebook who had a um, like a fundraiser or something. Can you give a certain amount? And they had a financial goal, and I was able to give this morning. I forgot about that, but yeah, I just was able to give something so this my friend could meet their fundraiser financial goal, and
Yeah.
that's a great feeling.
It is. And the more you can do that, the more you're going to get even those joyful, happier thoughts within you. It just makes you feel good, doesn't it? That we can
Correct.
do something
Yeah.
for somebody else.
Mhm.
And there's such a great feeling in that, to be able to earn all the money you want, live the lifestyle you want, do everything that you want to do, but then in the end, you can give all that wealth back to somebody,
Yeah.
or many people, not just one person. So I, that's something that I'm thriving for. That's something that I want to do. Live my life, be happy, do everything that I want to do, but then with all the money, give that away. And I think that's the best gift that you can give anybody, is just give that away. What was having the guidance like then, throughout the 6, 7, 8 months that you're here till April still, though, April next year. So what was having the guidance and the coaching like for you?
Oh, it was therapeutic. It was like um, a psychiatrist as well. It was multifold because it allowed me to, the first couple of months, I got emotional talking with our one on one coaching. Um, and I think that was part of me that was unlayering June. Who am I now? I'm a woman of a certain age, but um, I have a significant loss. That will never be filled again.
Hmm.
But what happens is you realize, okay, I got to keep going, but where do I go? And talking it out with someone who's a professional and who um, has had TIR under her belt for such a long time, you have been fantastic to reach in your tools and resources like, okay, this is what you should read, or or you would give me a quote or statement or some philosophical thought from Bob or the teachings that just fit. There was never a time where you had to say, "Oh, wait, let me look and see what I have to tell you, or what lesson you should go to, or what book you should read." You always, had the answer, and that's from your background. Being very well versed in TIR, um, and similar, thoughts and philosophies. So for me, the coaching was maybe in a way even more well, both. They enhance each other. They enhance each other. Doing this 5 nights a week, the repetition. And then sometimes with our one on one, I could take what I'm learning every night and reading every night and apply it to our one on one. And that, I believe, is what helps you to focus on your goals,
Hmm.
especially your big goal. And
Yeah.
that's why I think my big goal has changed. And it might change again. But whatever it does, it's it's allowing me to open up to the universe so that I can really get the goal that is God purpose for me to fulfill. And whatever it is, it's not going to just fulfill me, it's going to fulfill society as well. It's going to make major change. And that I believe. I came in believing that I could make a change. I just didn't know how.
Yeah. And I've just loved what you've said there, your God purpose. Somebody else said that, another one of my mentees, Dr. Joanna Rollins Fells, she gave such a great story of hers. She said that. She said, "This is my
Mhm.
God purpose." She's living her God purpose now, which, I mean, she's done amazing with this. She opened up her own TV studio and 3 other studios. She's on various different channels, but it just reminds me of what she said, that, and she was a coach as well, so she used to coach people, but coaches need coaches, and she went
Yeah,
through this process,
yeah,
and she a lot of it she knew, but she'd forgotten. So this was really her bringing it back, and then she just took a quantum leap, literally
hmm,
within the 12 months, and that's exactly what you're sharing here with
yeah,
what you're doing. She was a lost person, but as soon as she went through this, she started to find everything that she was thriving for and wanted in her life.
yeah,
And that's the same with you. You know, I remember the very first day. I remember the very first day with everybody that I work with, and then it's such a great transformation for me to see when you first start, and then when you finish. And I should start taking photos of everybody now when they first start, and then how they are 6 to 12 months later, because it's such a transformation. And
yeah,
Bob actually says that in one of the lessons. In fact, it's in lesson one. In 12 months' time, you're going to need a telescope to look back at how far you've come.
I
And that
believe
is
it.
so true. That is so
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
Um, so, your final thoughts, June? Anything else that you want to share?
Well, if anyone is wavering if they should try TIR, the answer is yes, you should. And actually, try is a very interesting word, and it's a
Mm,
word I actually try to avoid. Instead of using the word try, I say do my best. So I'm not going to try to be a good person. I'm not going to try to be a millionaire. I'm going to do my very best to be a millionaire, to be a good person, or whatever that goal is for you. Because your very best means that you're exhausting everything that you have. Try is like, it lends itself to kind of give you a way out. Doing your very best does not. It makes you responsible and accountable.
yeah, try is a very weak word.
Hmm.
Um, and it just kind of puts that message out. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. There's no belief. I'll
Yeah,
try. Let's just
yeah,
see. But when you say I'll do my best,
yeah,
if you've given your best, there's nothing else more that you can give. Your best is
yeah,
your best.
yeah. That's right. Because if you're at a hospital and your loved one is in emergency surgery, and the doctor comes out and says, "I'll try to save your loved one," versus "I'm going to do my very best to save your loved one." Which one are you going to feel better hearing?
Yeah.
It's the very best. And with TIR, it's going to give you tools, it's going to give you resources, it's going to give you support, so you will do your very best because you'll have all these things to help you do your very best. You're going to come from a different consciousness. You're going to look at words and not just take them for granted. You're going to be able to visualize. That was very important. And I
Hmm.
didn't realize in some aspects of my life I was visualizing, but sometimes what happens is when you do a study like TIR, it allows you to, oh, that's what I'm doing. There's a name to it, and
Mm.
it's a very conscious effort to do something. I visualize me having this fabulous music exhibit, and I've always kind of visualized it, but I didn't really know what that was. Now that I know what it is, I can visualize other aspects in my life too.
Yeah. And that's so important. Visualization,
Mhm.
using your imagination, which again, we're very weak at doing, a lot of people. So using your imagination in the right way, we go through that. The whole module 5 is lesson 5 is all about that, your 6 higher mental faculties and really tapping into that.
Yeah,
So yeah, visualization is the most important part in all of this, in manifestation, which is what we're talking about.
yeah.
I just want to finally say thank you. Thank you so much, June. Thank you for
Mhm,
sharing your journey first and foremost. Thank you for being
mhm.
open and honest. You've come so far. You've got so much more to achieve and go through. And again, it's cliched, but I say it every time. This is just the beginning.
Yeah.
This is literally just the beginning for you. You've got so much good stuff coming your way. Just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, and you'll never go back to your old way of thinking now, will you?
No. No,
No.
not at all. Not at all. Because that person isn't alive anymore. This is sort of a rebirth, if you will. And I'm extremely grateful for the experience and where I am. And I agree. I believe this is just the beginning.
Yeah. And for me, thinking into results is it's a way of life. It's not just another program. There's so many coaching programs out there, but I
True.
think this really is a way of life. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a part of it and this is what I do, but I've been through it myself several times and
Yeah.
I've seen the results.
Yeah.
I've seen the shifts. I've seen the downfalls and then how I've raised myself from there with this material. And if I didn't have this material, I think I don't know where I'd be.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's a way of life. So that's why I say you're never going to go back to your old way of thinking, because that old person, as you quite rightly said, is dead.
Mhm.
This
Mhm.
this is the
Mhm.
real June that's emerging from it.
And I have a lot to be thankful for.
And I look forward to continually working with you and sharing your big goal and seeing that evolve in the very near future as well. So thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, so June, what have you recently manifested?
Well, I wanted to get a job where I'm making a minimum of $20 an hour. And I manifested that and I got employed end of November and I started making $22 an hour. My bigger goal was to make at least 10,000 a month. And I recently won a lawsuit where I'm going to be getting a check this week in the amount of $42,000. So that like doubled my salary and put me up to 84,000 for this year, if you will. And I know that the rest of that will come as well because it's already been manifested and I put it out there to make it and it's coming. And I knew it would come in other forms of income. It wouldn't just be from one source of income. So it definitely has now manifested and
Wow,
continues this.
congratulations. So that literally you asked for a $40,000 a year job. You got 42,000 a year. You've just manifested that in November of last year. And you're getting a 40,000 lawsuit, which takes you, as you say, to 84,000 for the year. And that's just by believing in the process, doing your manifestation techniques, and just continuing in the belief that it's already here.
That's correct.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.